Hello, this is the second episode of Living in the Future series. That's what we're calling it. And today we are talking about who is AI going to benefit. We have Ramya. How are you, Ramya?
Hi, I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. How does it feel to be doing the second episode?
Yeah, I feel like this is quite an exciting topic, and also there are things that we will predict well and things we might probably be
Mm-hmm.
mistaken. So
Yeah.
this is an episode that I'm actually looking forward to watch from the future to
Yeah.
see whether our predictions were right or not.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing, right? Yeah, I think there's like a various point of view or various schools of thought on all of these things. It's just like we're coming from one of these things, but maybe we missed it a lot, and it'll be quite exciting to see how the world turns out. Okay, let's without further ado, let's maybe get into the context of why we chose this episode, right? I think a few days ago we were discussing on okay, there is this big thing A out there, and then what is going to happen? Is it going to benefit people like software engineers who just write code and they can write better code? That's what the previous way benefited. Or is it going to benefit people I don't know, who has no technical background and it will be benefiting them? Or what about companies big companies like Google versus now we see a lot of startups doing like a lot more stuff, and then they're competing against Google. Again, the last episode we talked about web and perplexity. I think these are like good examples of beating the big giants. So yeah, these are like various things that's out there to explore together. Yeah, what kind of people are going to generate in the new world? How is it going to look like? Will engineers be respected, or will it just the people with money? And yeah, various things to talk about.
Yeah, definitely. And I think just looking back, just like 10 years ago, I would say, what happened was earlier there was a way wherein,
Mm,
bankers were considered as the most uh, reputational, as in the most
mm,
famous people, as well as they made
mm,
the most amount of money.
mm,
But I think over the course of ten years, I would definitely say that the most high paying jobs have been tech,
mm,
and you can see that it's because of the boom of software.
mm,
So software was the biggest reason why engineers
mm,
were getting paid very high.
mm,
And
mm,
why is it the case? Because those companies are typically like there are big companies like called like Google,
mm,
Facebook, and social media companies that are big,
mm,
but it's not just those companies that were
mm,
hiring a lot of engineers. There were a lot of other companies called SaaS, so
mm,
it's called software as a service. So these are companies like probably Zoom. You can call Zoom
mm,
as a SaaS company, and you can
mm,
also call companies like Adobe, Notion, which are like quite famous
mm,
SaaS companies, I would say. And
mm,
these companies are basically, I would say, predominantly B2B. So they sell it to other businesses as
mm,
opposed to it's an customer being the normal people like you and I. So we are not the target audience for this software. It's actually used within within businesses as a productivity tool or as like a video. Zoom is actually what a video platform, right? It's like video conferencing platform. So these are kind of like SaaS companies that were also hiring a lot of engineers to build their products and build the software.
mm,
So not just in the core product, but there's always like this incremental improvement that they do in the product. So engineers were
mm,
not always required. So
mm,
it's not like one and done. You release
mm,
version one, and okay, now let me cut my engineers to like
mm,
half the workforce because now the entire
mm,
product is built. It's not been like that.
mm,
It has always felt like you need more and more engineers as the products became more and more complex. So
mm,
that was kind of like the way
mm,
the growth was in the last
mm.
10 years or so. And then I think AI has completely shifted that right now.
Maybe to take a shift back, can I say maybe let's step back and see why this whole wave of software and engineers came? I think, in my opinion, what was happening is that there was this cloud computing revolution, and what that enabled was that okay, now you can build software, and one of the nice things about software or tech software in specific is that that's infinitely scalable. You just build once and you just copy, and then you can just distribute it multiple times, and you can just do quite a bit. And cloud, I think, enabled it that quite a bit. So I feel what happening is that this thing that has enabled so much interesting products that you can build and be distributed towards as like you saw it as in app stores or in websites or in like various applications. So now we have you can just write software and for various applications which you just mentioned, right? Like Zoom is a very good example. Other thing I can think of is like a Photoshop or like Photoshop has been there much before that, but you can see like this lots of new softwares and lots of new that's solving quite a lot of interesting problems from hotel reservation to gyms to pretty much every domain that you can see, right? So I think that in turn, as you're saying, right, enabled hiring lots of engineers and of course more complex use cases that you solve. That means you need to so do more complex products. That means you can just print money, right? You can have engineers building a product and distribute it, and that's like lots of money to made, and there's so much software to made and so much uses. I think that's what happened on the previous wave. That's my view of it. Any thoughts? Do you agree with that?
Yeah, yeah, I think that's similar to what I was saying before. But so software was a big wave, and I feel like with AI right now. So the question
Mm.
is,
Mm.
um,
Who is
is
it
it
gonna
going?
benefit?
Who's going to benefit? Yes. Is it going to be like these companies that are already built and they exist and they're so huge? Are
Mm.
they going to integrate AI into their products and
Mm.
therefore they are going to continue
Mm.
their dominance? Or is it going to be that completely new companies that are built AI native from scratch? So, as in, like,
Mm.
the product is not based on any pre-existing code, but rather something that's written with the capabilities that they know about the LLMs and the reasonings and all of that. So, are you going to build the product from scratch, and therefore it's going to be superior than a product in which an AI is integrated as a feature? So, basically, those are like that's a fundamental question, I would say, to understand who's going to win. But I have to say that that's not the only way we need to evaluate who's the winner, because as we were discussing, I think 2 3 days ago, that it's not just about building the better product, it's also about selling the product. So it's possible that you build the most amazing AI native Photoshop or a native Zoom, but I still don't think that you are guaranteed to have success. It's because Zoom currently, with its B2B sales team, is probably is probably has the best relationship with the clients, and they if Zoom adds the AI feature that your software is going to have, like as a startup is going to have, I feel like people would be like, oh well, Zoom can do this, so can this new startup. Why should I switch to another startup when Zoom can already do it? Or are they promising to do it? Only if Zoom fails to deliver the
Mm.
AI features that it promises, then only
Mm.
then I think they will even think about it. Otherwise, I don't see why someone would shift to another product,
Mm.
and that's actually what's happening in the market as well currently.
So I do think it also has to do with how differentiated the product is, right? Like for example, an AI first Zoom versus non-AI first Zoom probably doesn't look that different because the video is the core thing out there. But the side things you can add transcript, you can add AI features, you can add other avatars, for example. But I do feel the core product is the video. I think that's gonna always be there. But let's take some other example, right? Even search is a good example. If you just search, the previous way we talked in the last episode is that if you have like give like a query, you find out 10 different websites out there. And with AI, if you fundamentally change that to say, no, we no longer need this website. We want somebody from all of these websites listed in natural language. So that means that the whole product is no longer needed in the AI first world. You need like a completely new product. So I do feel it has to do with like how do products look like? Is it going to be completely different? Is it going to be the same as thing? I think yeah, it's no different from the previous wave or like a wave 100 years ago when cars were replacing the horse carriages. Really.
Yeah, I think that's right. So that's the reason why I think I was talking about why SaaS company, not all SaaS companies are destined for doom, because I feel like it all
Yeah.
comes down to like what is their core feature and how is AI in its current state going to challenge that product.
Mm.
And I'm sure there are a lot of other companies wherein this disruption is probably not going to happen.
mm,
So they have like these companies are going to go for long and long,
mm,
long and be forever.
mm,
And yeah, I think just moving, shifting gears here and talking about is it beneficial for a company that's built by engineers to
mhm,
be the ones that are going to be likely winners, or is it that because of this no code kind of tools that exist to build companies, does it make sense for like generalists who never knew how to code now
mm,
have a chance to build companies?
mm,
So who's it that is going to benefit? Is it going to be
mm,
an already existing engineer or
mm,
someone who's not an engineer
mm,
by education or background?
mm. So what I think is that, as we were talking just now, right, in the previous wave, because of the need for software, writing code, or talking to computers, if you will, so we needed a lot more people and lot more people skilled up, and then like a build software, and then like I think that's what has been happening in Silicon Valley and various other, or India and various other places, really. So that's how we saw this boom of like learning algorithms or computer science degrees and things like that. So in the next wave, I think it's no longer about writing code, but it's more about deeply understanding how to write code, how to write the better code, and things like that. So at least in the short term, I do think it's not even the future. I think it's already happening, which is that you no longer need engineers who knows syntax or who knows how does the specific framework work or specific this one works. You need more people like who can think really. I like to say I think I read it somewhere saying that the best software programming language out there today is English. I think that's quite true because it's no longer about writing this one, no, doing this. It's more about understanding it deeply, how a system works, how do you program it, how do we write, how do we build the products, and I think it's much more than just writing code. So I do feel it is going to benefit these kind of people who are good at understanding systems. But again, that's in the short term. I do think in 5 years from now, maybe you already see, I think even today, like there's been like a competitor of DeepSeek that is running in an AI agentic loop. It can write its own code, it can upload these things, it can do the PRs, it can build new products. And you see the similar things with like products like Bolt or products like Cursor. What they do is it just automates code. It can write your own code with natural language. You can do your own thing. So I do think the natural extension of that is that at a high level, just describe what is the product that you want. You still need to understand like what is happening, how do you do things, but you just have to bridge between like what is the product that you want, what is the product that you can build, and what's the technologies that there, and you describe in natural language like here's how you'll be doing it. And a single person who knows both product and the technology, if you will, I think they'll be able to do much more products. I think almost like everyone in the company will be looking like that person who knows both. I do think that's how the world is going to be. Some new role, product slash engineer, if you will. I think that's how it's going to be. What are
Yeah,
your
I
thoughts?
think I agree with that partly, but I also feel like what's going to happen is that if you see companies at pre-seed stage or like in the seed stage when they are trying to raise their first funding, I feel like earlier most founders, like non-technical founders, were at a significant disadvantage,
Mm,
and
mm,
they almost felt like handicapped, and they were like, oh, looking for the
mm,
other missing piece, which is like,
mm,
where is the technical co-founder that I need
mm, mm,
to raise, because they need
mm,
someone to build the product to
mm,
actually show a POC, a proof of concept
mm,
of how it's going to look like for even investors to understand what is it they're trying to build and why should
mm,
they fund this. But I feel like right now the whole barrier to
mm,
raise the first seed or raise the first pre-seed is significantly lowered because I don't
mm,
think you even need a technical co-founder as long as you are a business person who has a vision of what the product should be.
mm,
And also, if it totally helps if you do even like a boot camp of
mm,
like Python boot camp
mm,
for like a week or even a
mm.
month, I think you are good enough to actually build a proof of concept. and raise the initial money that's required. And once the money is in, obviously you can hire the founding engineers and probably experts or even like more experienced engineers to build the product
Mm,
and get it from there. And I think what it's gonna help is definitely non-technical founders to be not feeling handicapped anymore.
mm. So I don't think that's a direct extension of like I think what I was talking about as well. I think one of the things is that you need to know like a startup founder, right? You need to know what does your customers want, but he also needs to know how should a product look like. But turns out for most of the startups, you don't need to know that much things of how a computer works because they know everyone knows what a website is and how it will look like, what do you build. So I think that's the reason why these startup founders are able to build products and a proof of concept and raise funding because the amount of technical things you need to know is that websites exist and then you can do access websites or apps exist. I think that's all the technology you need to know. But if you go to like a Series A stage, you need to know a lot more things like, okay, like if 1,000 users are using it, how should my tech look like and what is the technology possible? So they should at least be knowing it if they don't do it. So I think that's where it comes in like a people who are both technically skilled, or it can be like a, just a one person, like a CEO and the CTO, if you will, someone who just knows that okay, these are the challenges, and now without needing like a 10 people, they can just describe in natural language, saying that, hey, look, do I don't know some technical things like add more servers or like integrate this layer into this and things like that, and or even much more higher level as like split this load into multiple things and things like that, and AI can be taking care of those things.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
don't you think that earlier just like hand waving that, oh, websites, I'm going to just build a different kind of website,
Mm,
so
mm,
and therefore give me money. I don't think that would have worked. I would still think that
mm,
I'm sure like the BCs would have asked the question like, oh, given that your background, that I can see that you have the drive and the ambition and all of that, but they would have almost like probably even forced that person to actually get a technical co-founder
mm,
in order for them to fund the
mm.
company. So I think,
That's true.
it's no. I don't think they would have readily agreed to that. But I feel like right now, people, as if they see something that like the founder has built, like something tangible, I think that actually helps him tell the story. That like though I'm not a technical
Mm,
person, but it's just pure ambition and my drive to
mm,
learn and build
mm,
something. I built it.
mm,
So, and
mm,
if I can do this like in a matter of weeks or months,
mm,
with the funding, I can hire the right
mm,
people and I can take it
mm,
much more further. So I think
mm,
that's what I was trying to say, which is that
mm,
it's going to be a game changer in terms of non technical
mm,
people to actually start companies, let alone
mm,
let alone tech companies. I'm not
mm,
saying they are going to start like the deep tech
mm,
companies, but I'm saying
mm,
that it's these are companies that are like, for example, legal
mm,
sector. Like
mm,
this is a software for legal that's using AI, and I think
mm,
that's something that now it's possible for a lawyer
mm,
to come in and say that let's build that, instead of like an engineer who kind of finds another lawyer and they come
mm,
together to build a product. So that's
mm,
been traditionally the story, like an
mm,
intersection of someone who met someone through
mm,
something and therefore they built this. So I don't think,
mm,
I feel like someone who is specialist in a particular domain can
mm,
actually build a product now without
mm,
being the engineer.
mm. So yeah, basically, I think it enables people with ideas. Before that, they were handicapped without a technical person, and now they can just ideas can go into the market directly. If you say what you will, without needing like any tech support, and they'll feel much more empowered.
Yeah, definitely. So I think in that sense, in fact, I would think the products that comes out is going to
Mm,
be a best version of like what the user wants, because
mm.
these people were once the users of a product, or
Yep,
once
yep,
people who were looking for that product that
yep,
didn't exist. So I
yep,
feel like it's kind of getting like deep understanding and
yep.
appreciation of like what's missing and what's required, and they build it, and that's kind of very very unique, and in terms of achieving that product market fit that we want. And yeah, in that sense, I think those are definitely going to be the winners. So I would say like vertical specialists that are like extreme niche verticals, I would say, are going
Mm.
to be the winners in the future in the AI race.
So what about engineers? Do you think they'll be winners or losers?
I think it depends on what you mean by winners here for engineers. For engineers, is it that being gainfully employed, or is it being high paid employees, or is it that they want to be the founders, founding engineers, or like founders of companies. So I think there are different levels of success,
Let's
right?
say someone who's employed in Google and that can write software really well and that can write code really well. What do you think will happen to people like that?
I think they will not be either losers or winners. I think their status would probably remain the same, I would say, because it's about now maybe they are working for a startup that's also paying them well, or it's going to be working with the big tech companies which is paying them as they used to pay. So I think
Mm.
I would not say engineers being winners here, and I would not call them losers either. So that's, I think it's the status quo for them.
So I think I'm not sure about that. I do think this if you have like some specific skills like yeah I have this specific framework skills. I think right now you can like Vulkan or like some graphics driver skills for example. I think right now just because of this niche you'll have like a lot more impact that you can make and a lot more products that you can build. But I do think in the future it's gonna be more about like understanding deeply really as I was saying earlier. So I think the people who are much more generalist are much more interested in like a tweaking like a code or like a playing around with new things like a not being afraid to jump to new products. I think these kind of people would be the ones you'll be needing a lot more, and the people who are probably extremely specialized maybe not that much. That's what I'm thinking, but yeah,
Yeah,
kind
but
of
I think, yeah, I think it's about like, engineers in general. I feel like it's the cycle of programming languages being
mm,
good. It used to be like Java, it used to be
mm,
C++, now it's like Python. So I feel like people, in some sense, they talk about, like, well, we need to be adaptable. I think that's
mm.
probably
Yep,
the fundamental thing
think that's gonna be the
that people as software engineers think about, which is
mm,
like, there's no way that if you started a career
mm,
using a certain tool or certain programming language, I don't
mm,
think anyone retires while
mm,
still using the same programming language.
mm, mm.
So
Uh,
engineers by default are adaptable creatures in that sense.
mm.
So they will,
People
yeah, creatures, yeah.
or people no people in general are more adaptable creatures,
Yeah,
not
no,
just engineers.
I would not say so. I think
Okay.
engineers are probably more adaptable for sure. I mean, in the context of what we are talking about today,
Okay.
I'm sure I'm not saying doctors are not adaptable. It's just that I don't know enough to say about that, but I do know about engineers, and I think from what we've seen in the past, they are quite adaptable, and therefore if there's going to
Mm,
be something that's going to change massively with AI, and I think they can adapt, and there's going to be a temporary displacement of someone like, oh well, I need like 6 months to get back,
mm,
and then like get
mm,
back into like, oh, what is the big picture, what is it,
mm,
what has changed. And I think
mm,
6 months, I think 6 months is a reasonable time for someone to retune themselves to a different paradigm.
mm. Okay. So I think let's maybe step back a little bit and not just focus on just engineers and maybe take like a bigger picture of the world, right? So we said little things about it the previous wave. Definitely it benefited software because the world needed more software, and that's why there's like a lot more software jobs. But it's also that even if engineers are extremely skilled and adaptable, what if there's no jobs, engineer jobs out there for people to build? So it also depends on the macroeconomic conditions, I think. So one of the questions was that what will happen, like what kind of companies do you think will be the exist right now? You see tech companies are there like and they're like making a lot of money and then making a lot of product extra. Do you think that will be the same in the future as well, companies like Nvidia's company like Nvidia company like Google, they'll be in the top, or you'll be more people who are not tech but then they're like a very good at product, it can be like a fashion companies, or it can be venture capitals, or it can be companies like Y Combinator, right? Like they don't build product assets, they just have a group of people and invest in them and they build startups and then they get out of it. So what do you think the future of the big, which will be the talk, which will be the next Nvidia and Google? Will it be still be tech companies or will it be someone else?
Yeah, I think this has become a little bit more nuanced, I would say. Earlier, I felt like, in some sense, engineers were the dominating ones. They've somehow, like, like if there was like a PE fund, they almost felt like, like they did not understand half of what the company does. It's because these are like black boxes that they don't understand and can they think they can never understand. So there was almost like a power in being an engineer because no one understands what they're doing in the
Mm,
company,
mm,
and therefore they gain this, like a reverence, and almost like, they sometimes they dictate of, this is what we can do, this is something we can't do, so the product cannot be built in a certain way. So I
mm,
felt like there was almost like a power dynamic shift from like the investors
mm,
or from the non-technical people to the technical people being like people being the gods. I feel like that is going to completely change.
mm.
I don't think any technical people are going to be called gods anymore. I don't think.
But what
I
about
think,
companies? Like,
yeah.
you talk about companies. Like, do you think at a company level, a company like Google will be called God, or like it will be a company like some other model, really, like a completely different model than a tech company's model? We are like a, yeah, we're not a technical company. We are just like building a product or whatever. Do you think that will be changing, or do you think tech companies will still be the biggest ones?
As in which companies are going to be valued more, like tech versus non-tech? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, or what kind of companies will be in the top five? Will it be all tech companies, or will it be something else?
Yeah, I think, yeah, I would say like the way to look about within different type of companies who are going to be the winners. I think we can look at it from like which layer are they playing in.
Mm,
So, for example, there are companies that are no matter like, who's what company it is, you are going to use my product to build your
mm,
company. So
mm,
if your company is like GitHub
mm,
is like
mm,
the software, like, I mean, it's where the code exists, right? Like it's a version control system wherein like
mm.
someone writes a code and another person writes a code. How are these like two integrated together? So I'm just trying to explain version control for people who don't know.
So
But
maybe
yeah.
let's take like a step. Maybe let's think about little more into the future, like 10 years from now. So I think one of the patterns that we are seeing is that software is getting commoditized. So if it's completely getting commoditized, so anyone can build their own GitHub. That means what is like why will they? It just becomes a commodity, right? So I don't. So I'm not sure if they will still remain the most valuable people in the world, because if it's a commodity and anyone can build, it's like yeah. So why will they be valuable at all anymore?
Yeah, I think even if anyone can build something, I don't
Mm,
think anyone will buy that thing, right?
mm,
So, it's because if it comes to like you paying some money to buy something,
mm,
you're looking for some big indicators of trust, big
mm,
indicators of why them. And I feel like if you have a track record, for example,
mm,
if OpenAI is going to sell something, like
mm,
OpenAI has its own tool for doing something, I think people will be like, oh yeah, OpenAI. I mean, I would definitely
mm,
buy it from OpenAI because they were the pioneers of like a whole LLM and they brought ChatGPT into the world. So they will definitely have a bigger reputation and the ability to sell. But if, for example, it's a no-name company that's never heard and they're selling the same product,
mm,
it's for sure that you can reasonably say that it's not 50-50 market share.
mm,
It's going to be like 90-10 or 80-20, kind of
mm,
80% being OpenAI
mm.
selling its product and having a market share, and like the small company is going to
But
just.
it's still like it's you can still have like a big company taking the market share, but do you think that will be the most valuable companies in the world? So one of the reasons why Google is one of the most valuable companies in the world is probably because building a search is not easy and someone else can't build it. Same with Nvidia, right? One of the reasons why it's the most valuable companies in the world is because no one can really build like that good GPUs. They tried and they couldn't. So
Yeah,
do
I
you
think.
think in the future
Yeah.
something like sure, like 80% will take one market share, but that value is quite low since anyone can build it. People won't be willing to build that much price for it.
Yeah,
So
I
the
think
people on the
this.
top will be doing something else. Yeah.
This has been a question forever. So, and there is already a solution that software companies have discovered, and it is called ecosystem.
Mm.
So, it's not just one product that they sell, it's
Mm.
about a whole suite of products that they sell.
Which is
And
what Google does.
yeah, and it's almost like you bring them into your ecosystem, and
Ecosystem.
they start using multiple products. It's like, oh, I'm using your Gmail, and I'm using your
Mm.
Google Maps, and I'm
Mm.
using what else, like your Google Meet. And it's
Mm.
almost like I'm so tightly
Mm.
integrated that I have
Mm.
like, so many tools that are available to me when I
Mm.
use this software
Mm.
versus a startup which is probably
building
figured
one
out
under
how
the.
to do Gmail. They probably are good at Gmail or like a mailing service. So if
Mm,
that's the case, would you choose Google versus like some a startup
mm.
that does only one thing really good? So
So
it comes down to that. Hmm.
So maybe can I maybe extend your argument a little bit? So I think it maybe is looking something like back then, 20 years ago, you can just build a software and get away with it and saying that's a company and then like you can do all of this. And the next phase is that you need to build an ecosystem. You can't just Google can't just live with search. You have to build search, Gmail, browser, and all of the ecosystem. Same with Meta, right? Instagram, WhatsApp, Facebook, and all of these things. And Microsoft, the same thing again, like whole, not just like a Windows software, but the whole ecosystem around that. So
Yeah,
what?
no, just a correction there. I think we talked about Gmail, and I agree with that ecosystem concept. But I think when it comes to Facebook or
Hmm,
Instagram, it's another
totally
concept
different.
altogether. It's called network effects,
Okay,
right? It's not an ecosystem in that case. Social
product. Okay,
media operates in the principle of network
okay,
effects, and I'm sure we
okay,
can cover that some other day.
okay. Yeah, yeah. Good point taken. So I think the point I wanted to make was that now you can't just build a one product and get away with it. You need to build multiple products or ecosystem around it, or like a network around it, as you were saying. So do you think now, as previous, more and more people can build software, so you have to build an ecosystem around it. Do you think the ecosystem has to become much more bigger and right now probably Google is the only person who can build such a big ecosystem. We might be seeing like 100 different players are capable of building such ecosystem and the whole disruption will be happening. That do you think such a world can happen in the future? And that's how it will be.
Yeah, I think what would happen is the first mover advantage would be the key thing, I
Mm,
would say, in the future. So it's almost like, yes, there are going to be multiple people capable of building something almost similar to you. But if you are the first one to build it and you have acquired a customer,
mm.
I think you are in a pretty safe
That'll be
place.
steady state.
Yeah, and it's not to say that you can forever be in that place if you don't
Mm. Innovate.
constantly innovate. Yeah, you have to innovate, but at least I think first mover advantage is quite key in the AI world.
Mm. So one of the other things I can think of is that also that we are saying software is commoditized, so anyone can build, but still we need the distribution and other things, etc. But I think there's another way of thinking of this is that, okay, if software is becoming commoditized, I think the complexity of tech is infinite. And we are not able to build more and more complex tech simply because we don't have enough skill in the world or like we don't have the technology yet or various reasons. Now, if AI can unlock these things, so I think software will be commoditized, and the next layer, whichever it is, it's the hardware layer, or like a more science, like a deep tech startups, or like a complex medical devices or drug discoveries. So I do feel that like anyone can build software. Now, the only way to do innovate in the world will be build more complex products. So I think you might see some things like Nvidia is already like building complex products, but I do feel like in 5 years, a lot more people can easily build it, and you'll be seeing sort of things like, yeah, again, top five people are still tech companies, but you still need engineers, but it's not software, but it's building something much more complex, and you need to do much more reasoning, and it will look something like writing in natural language and playing with science, and like Elon Musk like to say, right, from changing atoms to playing around with atoms to building some much more complex product. So I do think lot more company will be physical and you will be solving simply more complex problems and that will still be tech. I think that one of the things that
Yeah,
will
I
definitely
think
be
I
there.
completely agree. I think just to summarize, I would say that if we have to predict who are going to be the winners of the AI race, I would say that there are probably like two categories of people. One are people who are building
Deep tech.
really complex products that it's almost like impossible for someone to do the same thing with unless you spend a lot of resources building it. And AI should not be the one that can currently at least build it on
Mm.
its own. Like
Or talent.
vibe coding should not lead to a product being built.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So that's one category, and the second category would be the products that are kind of commoditized. It's kind of like you
Mm.
can vibe code your way
Mm.
into probably 50% of your product.
Mm.
But what ultimately helps you is because you're the first mover in that space. Like
Mm.
you were almost like a product category innovator in some sense. And if you do
Mm.
that, I think you have a high chance of winning
Mm.
uh, in the AI world.
Mm. So to expand that, I do think that yeah, I fully agree with that. I feel like probably it's not going to be like a world without engineers, anything like that. So I do feel the same status quo is going to be maintained, except that we'll be building more complex products. That means more cancer research, more solution for drugs, more solution, faster hardware, and a lot of more things, I think. And also another category which you already have today is things that are commoditized, like things like toothpaste or other, or like even internet, right? Like a lot of the internet infrastructure, these things are being commoditized. So I think software will be like one of them, and
Yeah.
that's what it will be. And if you
Yeah.
want to build,
Yeah,
yeah,
ultimately, like in toothpaste, brand is the only thing that
brand is the
matters.
only thing that matters, right?
So that's what like big companies have. I would say is
Yep,
so apart from startups, I think what the current incumbents have as
yep.
a big advantage is the brand.
But mm,
Yeah,
but
it's
but
like
I also but I also do think that the velocity in some sense would be like a big factor. Means that people who just relentlessly innovate are gonna get somewhere. So what that means is that you no longer the market is gonna be changing so dynamically. So I think one category definitely like things like hard startups, like hard things to do, that'll be steady state because all you have to do is research and you can the market is little more stable, let's say. But things that are easy to build, I think what's gonna happen is the market keeps on moving because the people keeps on moving or the environment keeps on moving. So that means the companies has to relentlessly adapt towards that and build something like that. That sounds very similar to like a startup really, right? Like startup in early stage things. So what probably is going to be looking like is that everyone will be someone like a founder really. Like you have to be like a founder, knowing the product, knowing the people, talking to people, building not that complex technical things, but you have to be shipping fast, moving those things. And I think these are the two kind of companies that's going to be end up with people who are like a hustling kind or like people who are just like the current kind of people who build the startups and just keep on building it. I do think a lot more people right from the universities are going to be doing something like this, building their own startup, and there'll be a lot more money to be made in there. And another category will be like big companies where you're doing complex technical aspects.
yeah. Yeah, I think the last point that you said, which is that like fresh grads building their own products, and I think we should definitely say that given that we have seen a lot of entry level jobs going away
Mm.
in a lot of companies, I would say like if any young graduate who's like looking for a job and is not finding it really hard should probably build a company right now.
Build a company or
Yeah.
learn complex things and just, for example, there's a lot of things are like new for a lot of people. You don't need experience for a lot of things. Like you just learn fission, how it works, and just start build really complex stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's your way out of unemployment, I would say.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, definitely, definitely.
Yeah, I think we can end it here.
So yeah, we can end it here. I think one final thing I wanted to say is that I think we initially started with discussing who is it going to benefit? Is it going to be just people with money? Is it the last time to make money, or after this there'll be saturation, AI does everything, and only the rich people are going to become rich? I don't think that will be the case because it just there's infinite products to be built. I think we only touch the bad limits of human intellect, and yeah, that means we have like I do feel like people today are capable of building a lot more things. It's just that we're not exercised it because there's not a need, and in the future there'll be need, and that means there's so much things yet to be built, and I don't think rich people are going to be richer. Yeah, yeah, there's lots more innovation to be done, and lots more human thinking that's left, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Cool. Cool. I
Thanks,
think, yeah, it was
everyone.
quite fun talking. And bye bye. Stay tuned soon in the next episode.
Bye.
Bye bye.